what they want to change and everything to that to your uploaded project. So ngayon naman is how do we install Git? For Linux and Mac operating systems, Git is already installed. So just open terminal and type git -- version to verify if Git is already installed to the system. For Windows naman, ang simplest way is to download the Git standalone installer and use for me, I use git bash instead of the command line. So for Windows, ito yung example niya. You go to git for windows.org and then just download and install it. And then once it is installed, you can search for git bash. And then ganito yung itsura ng git bash. Para lang siya ng command line. So basically, mas preferred ko lang na gumamit ng git bash versus command line kasi yung for example sa command line plain lang siya, yung colors dito sa git bash is masyadong organized when we use some git commands. Okay, so since alam na natin yung Git and pahapyaw ng GitHub, ano naman, and na-mention ko before na it is where we upload our projects to nga. Paano naman natin i-add yung initial na version ng project natin into Git? So mayroon akong na-identify na 2 ways to add your initial version of project to Git. First is to upload the files to your repository in GitHub. And the other one is push existing repository from the command line or the terminal. So now we use the Git term push here. It basically means to upload or upload your project to the to GitHub. So this is a screenshot from my GitHub account. It's how you create a new repository. So ayan, identify mo lang kung anong gusto mong name ng repository, and then you can choose if you want it to be public or private, and then other options like add a README file. Siguro kung meron kang instructions, you can, like for other collaborators, you can add it here sa README file. And then add git ignore. So meron kasi tayong files na, for example, sa Laravel, we don't want to upload all the files. We want to ignore some files, like for example yung env, and then yung folder for packages kasi masyado siyang malaki. So yun yung purpose ng git ignore. Parang ililist mo dyan kung ano yung mga gusto mong i-ignore ng Git when you want to upload your initial version of the project. And then choose a license. So once done, you just click on create repository. Okay, so once the repository is created, you can now choose to upload your files through GitHub. So here you can see choose your files. So you basically upload your files to the repository that you created. Once you are able to upload the files, it is necessary to add some sort of description of your commit changes. So now here we use commit. we basically encounter commit word in our databases. Like if you want to um, save something, like paano ba? Kunyari, nag-insert ka ng record sa table and you want it to be final, you use commit command. So here in GitHub, it basically means save your changes into Git. So we need to add a simple description. For example, um, I added the initial version of the file, or I modified something in lines like this, or there's a bug. We can always put this short description during committing your changes. So that's for the through GitHub way. And now let's go to the through the command line or git bash. Okay, so here is the other way. I just simplified this. I wasn't able to add the code before this command. But to create a remote repository, we use git remote at origin and the link to the project. And then after that, we run git push dash u origin main to point from local repository to the remote main branch. So of course, if you're trying to connect to a remote branch, it is necessary to enter your credentials as well. So in my example, I already set up my GitHub here. So make sure you properly set up your GitHub account, and I was able to generate token to avoid authentication errors. So here, I use the word push again. So it basically upload or push your changes to Git, something like that. And then after the command, we will be prompted with this status, like they're counting the objects. So how many files are in the project or in my local repository, and basically the updates of what happened during the push command that you made. For now once your repo or repository is uploaded, you can now have your contributors or your team members to collaborate and add changes to the repository. So this is an example where a member or a collaborator can add a file or changes to your repository. For example, ako, di yun nga, in-upload ko yung project ko doon sa Git, and then shinare ko na siya doon sa another collaborator or team member. Pwede na siyang mag-update ng code niya doon sa, for example, GitHub. Ang command usually is git add and then period. The period here, it basically what do you call this? Means all, but you can also add like a specific file. For example, git add index.php or git add test.php, something like that. After you add the your changes, it is necessary again to commit it. Here I just use git commit, but there is another command which is git commit -m, and then you enter your short description for the commit that you made. For example, update index.php or remove line number 2 and something like that in your commit message. Once the commit is done, so the status will be displayed like one file change or one insertion, or if there is a new file that you added to the your local repository, the status will be like create mode, something like that. Okay, so and after you commit your changes, last thing to do is to push your changes. So basically the steps are to add what files do you want to commit, and then commit it, and then push it. You push it to the main branch of your Git repository. So here is what it's like to push your commit changes to the remote repository. So, okay. So that's what we see in Git Bash, and we can view it like makikita natin yung mas view niya sa GitHub. So if you go to your repository, makikita mo dyan na, for example, ito si J. Laksamana nag-add ng file. So meron siyang commits na. So andun pa rin yung status ng mga files mo. With this, natatrack mo siya kung sino na yung nag-change or sino na nag-update ng code mo, kung ano yung nabago. So for example, in GitHub, you can select, for example, index.html to check what are the contents of it. And as you can see, sa upper right niya, meron history na word. So basically, makikita mo yung history ng changes doon sa specific file. So ganun yung GitHub. Since it's a version control system, matatrack mo kung ano na yung mga naging updates. Kasi magiging helpful siya, for example, may changes ka sa code and then nagkaroon ng error doon sa system mo. You can always track using GitHub. Makita mo kung sino yung nag-change, anong oras, kailan siya in-update. And then you can also revert it back to its last original state. So yun yung kinagandahan sa Git. Okay, so in this example, meron ng dalawang contributors or dalawang tao na nag-work doon sa example kong index.html file. So to check the changes nga that has been made, you can just click on history. And once you click on history, it will prompt you this. Like, ito si J. Laksamana yung nag-upload ng file. Ito yung commit message niya, add index file. And then ito naman si Joan SL, nagdagdag siya ng text. Ang nilagay niyang commit message is add text. So, aside dun sa commit messages, you can also check kung ano yung eksaktong nilagay nila doon sa specific file. So, pag nag-click ka ng isa, yung, for example, yung add text, pinindot mo siya, you can see here na alin yung line ng code na change. For example, ito, basically yung line ng test file, nawala na siya, totally nag-change siya. Tapos ito na yung new updates, ito may plus. So dito sa GitHub, itong red, yun yung parang nag-change or nawala. And then ito yung color green naman is yung mga additional changes to that specific file. So basically, ganun yung sa history ng commits. What else ba? Okay, so as you can see here also, meron tinatawag na blame. Kung makikita nyo itong word na blame, pag pinindot nyo yan, ito yung cool thing na nagustuhan ko din sa Git is to check kung sino yung specific. Kung, for example, marami kayo sa team, like 10 kayo, and then nag-update kayo ng changes nyo sa files. Maganda gamitin yung blame kasi makikita mo talaga kung sino yung specific na tao na naglagay ng code. For example, nagkaroon ng error, sino yung eksaktong tao naglagay ng code na yon. So you can use the blame tool by GitHub. So ito, pag pinindot ko yung blame, ito yung magiging example niya na ito si collaborator na ito, ano yung commit message niya, and ano din yung dinagdag niya. So yun yung feeling ko magiging parang brief na description ko sa Git kasi meron pa siyang marami pang features. Pero this is only a summary. There are still other things that you need to know about Git like branches, clones, stash, pull request, and many more. Kulang yung allotted time natin to discuss all of that. So if you want to know more about Git, marami naman tayong other sources like yung documentation ng Git and sa YouTube, meron din doon mga tutorials on how to use Git and many more. So for me, thank you very much. I hope you learned something from my presentation. So
yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Joanne. Indeed, kulang talaga that yung time na 20 minutes to discuss all. Let me read a question here from our audience. What's the difference between reverting and resetting?
I need more details about the question, ma'am. So, ano ba yung scenarios niya nung reverting and resetting?
All right. So whoever have raised this question, you may want to be more specific with your question so that our resource speaker can address it correctly. There's also a question here. How is Git different from Subversion? If you're familiar with Subversion.
Currently, since Git is the most widely used version control system, I've been using Git with my projects. I never tried other version control yet, so I can't fully evaluate on that po.
Another tool. Okay, thank you. So there's another question here. What are the biggest disadvantages? What's the biggest disadvantage of not using Git in development with a team? What are your memorable negative experiences during the times that you are not yet making use of Git? So what are the biggest, let me repeat, what are the biggest what is the biggest disadvantage of not using Git in development with a team? What are your memorable negative experiences during the times that you are not yet using Git?
So for that question, I think the most memorable is overwriting changes of each other. For example, mahaba na yung na-edit mo doon sa specific file and then you already told your other team na ini-edit ko ito. Please wag mo nang mag-update ng other doon. So ang nangyari is since hindi nila napansin or hindi nila sinadya naman na save nila yung ginagawa nila and then nawala lahat ng changes ko. So with that, you need to continue again, and then wala kang ang backup nun since hindi pa siya nakasave sa Git. And then as also mahirap sabihin natin kunyari meron kang ano bang other example? Para kasi yung Git din nagiging backup mo din siya. For example, meron kang new changes and then hindi na pala kailangan yung new changes na yon. So instead na i-delete mo lahat ng changes mo, you can always just use Git and reverse your changes. So kanina yung question earlier, I think isa yun sa answer. You can always revert to your previous changes using Git. So kung walang Git, yun, mano-mano lahat.
Alright. So yeah. There's still another question here. What can you say to those who are not yet making use of Git to get them start using it?
Kung hindi pa kayo nag-start ng Git, sinasabi ko gawin nyo na, i-start nyo na kasi it will help you a lot. For example, collaboration. Ngayong pandemic, since naka-work from home ang ibang tao, we need to collaborate on some projects. Napaka-helpful ng Git kasi since online nga siya, you can edit or make changes from anywhere you are. And then you can always use it as your yun nga, versioning control na when you need to go back to your previous changes, you can always easily do that with Git. So yun po yun, ma'am.
And another question, how do you set up Git with multiple users?
I was not able to discuss it. So say for example, you already uploaded your Git project, your project to Git. You share your since from my example, I use I set up my repository as public, so they can always search my project. But if you want it to be public, you need to share your specific project to that person. And then once it is shared to that person, they may opt to use some commands like git clone, so they can clone your initial project to their local branches, and then from there they can already make some changes. So yun yung way to set it up for multiple team members.
Thank you so much, Ms. Joanne, for answering the questions coming from our audience. Now we move to the next presenter, which is Ms. Senia. Yeah, ready. Thank you so much, Ms. Joanne. We move to the next.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I hope you still have the energy to listen, but this topic I'll be discussing maybe something new to you, pero I hope you'd also learn to appreciate it as much as I did. So this is SAP ABAP development, and ABAP actually is the programming language for SAP, and it stands for Advanced Business Application Programming. So next slide, please. Okay, so the question is this: what is SAP? So this is not a widely used application, I guess, that is taught in schools. But just to give you a gist of what SAP is, so SAP stands for Systems Applications and Products in Data Processing, and it is an ERP system. And ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning And it integrates the different day-to-day business processes such as order fulfillment, billing, human resource management, and production planning in a company. So basically, every business module that is existing in a company, SAP can handle those. So this is a German multinational software corporation. And next slide, please. Very quick lang po, guys. So SAP is also one of the leading companies in the ERP market, and other competitors are Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, and etc. Next slide, please. And here's the question. Why is ERP required? And why is a centralized system beneficial? So for example, there is a client who approached the sales team to ask about a product. Then si sales team naman, kinontak si inventory department to check if available ba yung product na sinasabi ni client. Then, saka lang malalaman ni sales team na hala, out of stock na pala yung product. But what if yung product na needed ni client is on an urgent basis? So, sales team actually does not have the real-time information access to the product availability. So, ang mangyayari, instead na piliin ni client na maghintay pa sa sales team na mabigay yung product na gusto nila, so parang ang pipiliin na lang nila, ay sige, maghahanap na lang kami ng iba. So, this will lead to loss of revenue and customer dissatisfaction. So, yung sinabi ko example, that is an example of a decentralized system wherein data is maintained locally at individual departments. So, walang access yung bawat department sa information ng bawat isa. So, here is the question. So, bakit ba kailangan na centralized yung system ng isang company? So, number one, it eliminates redundancy in data. So, imbis na mag-store ng may kanya-kanyang system yung kada department, isa na lang. So that yung data nila ay iisa and walang miscommunication with each department. And it also provides information across departments in real time. So ganun. For example, yung kanina, since hindi nga alam ni sales team na out of stock na yung product, so parang nagulat sila and siguro maybe the sales team said na, ay meron pa po kami nito. Teka lang, i-check lang namin kung ilan yung stock. But this is why ERP is required because it can provide information in real time. Number three, it increases productivity, better inventory management. It promotes quality, reduced material cost, effective human resource management, and also better customer interaction or service. So as a centralized system actually makes actually benefits the company. So this is why an ERP system is required, and this is why SAP is one of the leading ERP systems. So next slide, please. So in SAP, sobrang daming modules niya. And itong list na to in this slide is just one of the few. I guess mga 20 plus to in actual. But some of the ERP modules are here. So yung mga in scope na department, you can think like that. Like it's like a department. And ito yung mga module na in scope with SAP ERP. So one is financial accounting, there is cost accounting, human capital management, materials management, quality management, production planning, sales and distribution or the order to cash, business data warehouse, OS and communication protocols or basis. CRM is customer relationship management, SCM is supply chain management, and MDM, master data management. And here is ABAP, which is one of the modules, and it is the advanced application programming. And HANA, this is actually new, high performance analytic appliance. So for this specific discussion, we will focus on ABAP, which is my current role. So next slide, please. So as I've said, SAP ABAP It's Advanced Business Application Programming. So it is a high-level programming language, specially developed by SAP. And the version that we are currently using is ABAP 7.4. So ABAP can be new to your ears, but super madali lang intindihin yung syntax niya kasi high level siya, and it's somewhat like Python. Parang ganun yung level nila. So next slide, please. And here are the general types of ABAP development that we are creating currently in the team. So we have reports, interfaces, conversions, extensions, forms, and workflows, and we call them RISE-FW. And currently, yung mga reports na kini-create, for example, sales order report, mga invoice, mga billing, mga forms, yun, lahat siya dyan nakikreate. So those are the types of ABAP development. Next slide, please. So we go to the basics of the SAP GUI. So here is the SAP Easy Access. So this is the standard entry